So hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. My brother's been looking for a bike packing tent and he was looking for one without poles so it was more packable. And we came across the Vango F10 Xenon UL. So rather than being a full normal tent review, we're really just keen to find out whether air poles or air beams are better than normal poles. So without further ado, let's have a wee look at this and see if it's a suitable solution for him. So the reason the stuff sack is not a burrito type is this is actually like an airbag for pumping up the tent. But however, I have tried it with this valve here in the end. Absolute waste of time. It just kept coming off the valve. I'm going to attach my bike pump, start pumping the thing up, and we'll time it and just see how quick it actually is to go up. Right, that was a lot quicker, half the time of the previous attempt. Just to show you the tubes in more detail, so you can see they're fairly chunky, maybe, I don't know, 2-3 inches thick. This is the front one, and you can see it comes with a TBS system inside to give it a bit more wind stability. But the rear hoop doesn't have that luxury. Got the usual hood over the cooking area. This one's wired quite nicely actually, and it's quite a nice door design, two-way zip, so you can vent it. You've got a variety of ways you can get in and out the door, so if you were snowed in you can climb in through the gap at the top, and you can also just make it a lot easier for cooking but still be under cover. You can see, if you look at the mat there, you can just squeeze in another mat. Certainly it's doable, but it's pretty cosy. The more I look at it, the more I'm actually getting more convinced about the air beams being a very strong and reliable alternative to poles. And just the fact that I could be inside this in a storm, and yes, it might collapse on me, probably no more so than an aluminium pole, but it won't snap. So the fact I can just go to sleep and think, you know, damn it, whatever happens, the thing's going to bounce back. It's highly unlikely to puncture due to a storm. You're more likely to do that damage in transit or putting it up possibly. So once the thing is up, what's the issue? You can also access the valves from the outside here with these little water resistant zips. There's also the same on the rear. How easy it is to actually use them from this angle, I'm not sure, because I'd want to inflate the thing from the inside when I'm under cover. Valve and dust cap here to use with your pump. You can use this as the escape valve here. So interestingly, it's not half as big, well, it's not quite as big as the poled version of the Xenon, which is about 130 wide at the front, down to this section about 2/3 of the way down, and is higher as well. I can't actually remember what it is, maybe 95 to 100 centimetres, but this one I think is 84 we measured it at, so it's definitely much more compact. So what I'm going to do is head up to the top of this hill up here, which is on top of a moor. So we'll be about 1,500 feet up, I think. Nice strong wind. And I'm just going to see just how easy it is to put up an air beam tent compared to a normal poled tent. And also just get a feeling for how it handles the wind. Okay, my apologies, I forgot to bring the external mic, so hopefully you can hear me despite the wind. Just heading up now, about 10 minutes from the top. Out of Puff, that's Glasgow, the city down below us down there. I'm just going to try and find a spot, try and pop this thing up, and we'll do a real world test. Okay, right, I've roughly pegged it out. I'm just going to climb inside now and we'll see how it goes trying to inflate these poles. So I'm actually camped up in the spot where, if you see it, if you've followed my videos for a long time, there's an old video where I came up here and I was trying to erect a Ferrino Solo mountain tent and the whole thing blew away. So I know this is a great area for testing in the wind, which is the whole purpose of this. We'll do stopwatch and we'll start it now and see how we get on. Right, I think I've nearly got this tube up. Let's feel how much pressure's in that. The thing is, it says you're meant to put it to 7 psi, but you've no idea, unless you've got a particularly sensitive bike pump with a dial on it, what 7 psi actually is. That's still quite soft to me, but let's just get a wee bit extra. Okay, right, let's stop there and let's check the stopwatch. 2 minutes 8, but I honestly think the pump sack is a complete waste of time. So we'll just use the bike pump again. Which, to be honest, this is the whole thing about it. I presume most people who would want to buy one of these would be using it for bike packing. So they're going to have a bicycle pump. Right, we are 2 minutes 30 on this one, and I'd say that's about right. Don't want to overstress it. But surprisingly, it's holding its shape in a pretty steady wind. I'll go outside now and we'll just peg it down and make sure it's all ship shape, and I'll bring you back. What happens is you tend to get herniated tubes. They tend to buckle a wee bit at the bottom until you seat them right in the bottom of their kind of foot pockets. We are pitched tail into wind, but the wind is kind of coming in at this angle, slightly intentionally, just to see what happens with the tubes and whether they struggle. But we're up, and I'm surprised by just how strong the tubes actually hold it. See here, hopefully. So we've got a steady wind. I don't think it's any more than about 15 to 20 mile an hour. I'll measure it in a second on my app and I'll tell you. I probably just need to muck around with the guys a wee bit, sort them out. But actually, I think some of you who are watching this will be genuinely surprised how these tubes hold. They're not too bad, and of course I haven't had a wind strong enough to make it buckle yet, but if they do, they buckle. But they're not going anywhere, they're just going to pop back up into shape, hopefully. Getting about 12 metres per second on average, so 26 miles an hour I think that is. So it's a respectable strong breeze, and it's holding its shape. There's no sign of the poles buckling at the moment, to be fair. Actually kind of surprised, I really thought it would be buckling more. Having said that's a tunnel and it's not side on at the moment, and if I had the time I would turn it right round and see what happens, but at the end of the day you're not going to pitch it side on intentionally, you're always going to try and put it tail into wind. So you can see on the rear hoop there is no TBS system, so actually when you look at it, it's kind of out of whack, it's slightly buckled. I think I need to loosen the right hand guy and pull it to the left, which I'll do in a second to see if we can tidy it up. Whereas on this front hoop we've got the TBS system just nicely holding it. You can definitely see it moves less with the TBS, so it would be nice if they had TBS in the back of it. See that slight buckling in the wind which is coming in from your left on your screen. I'll try and straighten this up, let's see if we can do it. Hang on. Yeah, that's better. A few extra pumps and that is now straightened out. So I think I was slightly underinflated, to be fair. But this is the problem, it's a bit of guesswork in terms of pressures. And you're always paranoid that you're going to blow a valve or blow the tube, which would be an absolute disaster area. But then, you know, if you break a pole, I suppose you can use a splint. If you burst the arch, I guess you can use a patch. Heading north, the wind's coming in from the south, southeast. I think it's also worth mentioning that it's, I think in terms of snow loading, forget it. It seems to just fairly kink fairly easily in terms of pressure on the top. The pole version has a lot more strength from weight from above. I don't know why, I think it's maybe the pole's a bit flat. Watch this. That just folds far too easily for me in terms of snow loading. Is this really at the end of the day giving you any advantage over a normal pole tent? Is there a usage case scenario here where you would want this over a poled setup? I mean, if you look at the Xenon UL, which I had before, the normal poled one, you get more room inside for the same weight. You get more head height, and it's more a two-person tent, whereas this is more a comfortable solo tent. But I don't know, would you buy it over the normal pole tent? I mean, if you're a bike packer and you're absolutely critical on the pole length, you might do, but to be honest, see when you actually pack it up, you try and get it back into its bag, it's an absolute faff. I can see no real point in it over just using some sort of bike packing tent with poles. So yeah, for me, I wouldn't buy one. I don't know what you guys think, but drop me a line in the comments below. I'd be glad to know your feedback. It's been good to try it because I've never seen one, and I don't think there is a review on YouTube other than this. So yeah, I think thanks to Summits and Paisley for giving us a loan on it to just have a look at it. But I think Richard, he's my brother, Richard, who was going to possibly buy it, I think it's kind of made his mind up that this is not the correct tent for him, and that maybe you should look at something like the Hubba MSR bike packing, albeit it's in our first pitch, which is the only real faff with it. However, thank you for watching. I hope you found it of interest anyway. I'm going to take this down now and head back down the hill. And yeah, it's not for me. It's also very difficult to repack and get all the air out the tubes, so yeah, that in its own right is a real faff as well. Yeah, sorry Vango, I can see why this hasn't been a big seller, and probably why they're so hard to get a hold of now.